anything is possible. I believe that any transformation or any change that's going to happen really has to start with me. It's an intimate type experience. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. And I use that word a lot, create. And I also believe that curiosity should be the driver of all decisions.
I'm Tiffany Souter, entrepreneur, wife, mom to 4 girls, and a woman figuring it out just like you. Come on, let's go build your life of and. If you are a capable, accomplished, and ambitious woman, but feel like you are circling the same level of success year after year, this is an episode for you. If you know you're playing smaller than you're capable of, but can't quite explain why, then this is one you need to tune into. Because for most women, staying stuck isn't about fear or laziness. It's about belief systems that once kept us safe, responsible, and successful are now quietly limiting what we're willing to imagine. Today, I'm talking with Andrea Liebross, host of She Thinks Big, about why belief is not soft, it's structural, and how upgrading the internal system you're operating from is often the first step toward real movement. Welcome to Life of And. This conversation is part of a broader exploration we're doing about why so many capable women feel stuck, even when nothing looks broken from the outside. Today's conversation is about belief, not mindset hacks, but the internal systems that shape what we think is possible, responsible, and allowed. I'm joined by Andrea Liebross, who works with women leaders who helps them see how belief operates as structure and not emotion, and how upgrading that structure changes what they're willing to pursue, ask for, and act on. Andrea, welcome to our new studio.
It's fabulous.
We're like tech hacking our way into this, so here we go. Let's do this conversation. So Andrea and I belong to the same club, and we got connected with some mutual sort of women in the city, and we were walking on the treadmill as middle-aged women do.
Yes.
And we started talking about this idea of belief. And she started sharing with me. I was like, hey, like, let's not talk about it here. I want to bring you on the podcast. I want to talk about this work that you do around belief, because what does my bracelet say here?
Believe.
So this silly little rainbow bracelet that is like Taylor Swift.
Yeah, Taylor Swift inspired,
friendship
right?
beads.
Yeah.
So I found this bracelet underneath one of the couches in our house when we were packing up all of our belongings the Thanksgiving weekend. You know, house of girls, we got crap everywhere. We got, one clip-on earring and whatever. And I found this bracelet, and for some reason I put it on and I didn't throw it away. And so as I was packing, and you've just got time where you're doing tasks that are not that creatively fulfilling.
Yes.
And I'm going into year end, thinking about 2026. It's like we're in this kind of the season of renewal as a family, new house, new starts. Last calendar year of all of my girls home, which has made me very pensive and focused, I would say, on what gets my time. And just this idea of all this stuff I still want to do in the season where I'm needed in so many places. I'm like, it really is about first believing that it's possible. So this is a thing I'm focused on and practicing, and I'm really excited to learn alongside my listeners of like, what does it look like to move belief from this emotional, maybe fleeting thing that comes and goes momentarily to, as I'm using your vocabulary, I don't understand it yet, but you say it's structural. So tell us about that. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I love the bracelet. I think I need one too now.
Yes, and
I do need one.
A little Taylor Swift inspired.
Exactly.
But yes.
Never go wrong. So here's how I see this. I mean, belief usually gets thrown in with the word mindset. People go, I just have to think positively. I've got to believe something's possible. Okay, great. But what I really think is that belief is structural, and it deserves like a seat at the table just as much as if we're talking about business, like marketing or finance or human resources. It's a strategy in a sense. And I love to use the metaphor or the visual of a bonfire.
Okay.
So when I was in college, freshman year, at homecoming, they built a bonfire. It was supposed to be the number of levels high as your year of graduation. And then all the freshmen were supposed to run around it that many times. So this is a visual in my head that like has significance. Yeah. And in the middle of the bonfire, every bonfire, there's a flame. And then there are these beams around it that are really what hold the flame kind of in place and allow it to grow. Mm-hmm. So I'm really passionate about two things. One is I call it illuminating possibility. And the other is the intimacy of transformation. And illuminating possibility is that flame. Like, is it possible for you this year to spend the time that you want to spend with your daughters, right? Like, that's a possibility. You know it's possible. But how do we do that? How do we do it? Now, you are an expert at setting up amazing with Life of And. Like, you've got to make some decisions, people. You've got to set up some systems. But I think that a lot of that is in some way external, and this belief is internal. And it's really the structure that keeps that flame alive, right?
So true.
And
Yes.
it's when I say like intimacy of transformation, it's different for everybody. It's not just positive thinking. It's something that's very personal. And I see too many women trying to what I call outwork disbelief, thinking that if they just do more, hustle harder, even make different decisions, like things are going to happen. Yes, okay. However, you've really got to have some sort of grounding, I think, first in order to make anything happen, whether it's in a business or at home or whatever. So that's when I say it's structural. It's something that like holds these possibilities together and helps you grow.
So the two things were illuminating possibility, and what was the other one?
I call it the intimacy of transformation. So a lot of the work that I do with my clients, I coach women business owners all across the country of all different types of businesses, different industries. And they come to me like, hey, Andrea, help me grow or scale my business. And I say to them in the beginning, yes, that's our objective here. And talk about Life of And we are probably going to have to get pretty personal on what is important to you. And you're going to grow your business is only going to grow as fast as you really grow as a human. So that's kind of an intimate experience that requires you to kind of be honest and go deep and not just think positive.
What has your own experience looked like with this topic? Because I find often as like coaches and content creators and people who have platforms, the thing we're teaching on it is so acute to us.
Yes.
It's like the thing that
our lived experience.
Yes,
in a way.
and it's like life has brought this to be in a very acute way. So what has that looked like for you?
So I started this business in 2018, so it's been a while, and it's kind of roller coastery. There's I think Darren Hardy's book is something about the entrepreneurial roller coaster, and I've seen myself go through stages of wondering, hey, is this decision I'm making really going to pan out or not? Is this a smart decision? Questioning, right? Questioning. And it sounds so noble. Like, of course I want to make the right decision. Of course I want to weigh all my options and get all the information. So it sounds great, but really at the root, is it going to work? A lot of that comes down to, do I believe it's going to work? Am I willing to work at it for as long as it takes? Or am I willing to figure it out along the way? Not just hustle until it happens, but am I willing to figure it out? And I think there's people talk about commitment. I talk about a lot about, what's the difference between commitment and interest? Am I just interested in making this happen? Or am I really committed to making it happen? But underneath all of that, I have to believe it actually could happen. So I've seen that in my business. And then I think personally, we've done some pretty, and I've been married for almost 30 years this year. So
congratulations.
Thank
actually,
you.
that's very hard to do.
It's a long time.
That's very hard to do.
Okay, so I'll use a personal example of this, how this happened in my relationship. We've lived in the same house for like 25 years and it's all great. Nothing's wrong with it. And during the pandemic, for sort of a fun activity on a weekend, we went and looked at this new development, this thing, Homerama, okay? So just poking around, no objective.
You're literally an avatar in their marketing plan.
I am. I totally am. Totally am. So we go, okay, it's great. And my husband says in the middle of the week, do you want to go back next weekend and look at lots? I mean, would we ever think of building a house? I'm getting, like, really no, like, it was really, he was sort of driving the horse on this. So we go, and within, 2 hours, okay, I think we should buy a lot. And my husband's a physician. He's very calculated in all of his decisions. And we need to do some more research on this. And we sat in the car in the parking lot. I said, no, I believe like we can make this happen. Then we go into the whole, can we afford it? Because this was so unplanned. It's like, no, I believe we can make this happen. I think we need to go home and get this checkbook and come back. And if it doesn't work out, if we decide no, we can always sell it back. But like, there's been instances like that where I really feel like illuminating what's possible, believing that maybe we can make this happen. And along the way, a lot transformed, like a lot changed in our relationship and just how we did things. People say, did you get in an argument? Were you about to get divorced? No, we weren't actually. It was okay. It all worked out. But that's, you see it kind of, if you're aware. I think awareness is first of all.
When you're working with a woman who's got a business and a bunch going on, and you're like, this is not a fundamentals like X's and O's business thing we need to fix. This is a belief thing that we need to fix. What are the things you're hearing her say? What are the things that sort of pique your, and even I think for the listener of like, what are the thoughts that are tracking through your mind that make you realize like this belief is really something you need to tackle?
I think it comes out in a couple ways. One is this like outworking, which we talked about. Another thing is confidence. So I hear people say, I need more evidence before I do something, or I'm not sure if I'm ready yet. And that is, I think you have to actually do something in order to create that confidence. But what's going to spark you actually doing it is this, I think I could do it. You've got to have that little spark. So if someone's hesitating and not moving forward and waiting for some confidence to grow, I kind of go back to like, okay, let's dial it back a little. Is this something that you think could really actually happen? Do you believe it can happen? And then you start to sometimes waver, right? Because they're blaming it on external things. Like, I'm not ready until this happens. I'm not ready until that happens. Okay, is that really honestly just like a stall tactic? What's at the root of all of that?
But is belief evidence-based or not?
This is also a very good question. I think our brain is constantly searching for evidence, right? But I think at the root of it, it's not like you need to believe before you've got the evidence. So I think you can create more confidence, which then supports the belief. But initially, you don't necessarily have the evidence. So I think it's more internal than anything else.
Do you think in your work, do you find that some people are more wired towards sort of this optimistic belief orientation versus?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with risk tolerance in a way. Willingness to give up a little bit of control even. The fear of failure gets in the way of belief. So I hear that a lot. We're also not recognizing your own agency and that you get to make decisions, like you're in charge. We just had a whole discussion today, actually, coaching about what's authority. This came up as we were talking about decision making and how oftentimes we hesitate to make decisions. We hold them even after we've made the decision. We kind of still hold on to it and reconsider. And I said to the women on the call, I'm like, you are all leaders, right? So you have the authority to make a decision without having to prove yourself, give evidence, back it up, try to massage it. And so this word authority came into play, and someone said, what do you really mean by that? So I looked up authority in Webster's dictionary there on Google.
The authority on authority.
The authority on authority. And it was something about power, permission, and position. Okay, I got it. I said, but I think what this is missing out on is that it's a privilege that you have this authority. You as the leader can do these things, but you're not going to do them unless you have the structure, that like belief structure around it. So it's almost like architecting.
I grew up in the farm, and so my mom would always put tomato cages
Yeah.
over
Yeah,
a very
that's
tiny
yes.
plant that did not need any vertical support yet,
Yeah.
but it was like this belief that it was gonna
Right.
grow. So in some ways that
That's So it's like you have to engineer it
Yeah.
in a way. Right?
So I wrote down when you talked about you and your husband buying that lot and you getting in the car and being like, I think we should do it. And you're like, we can always undo it. I think we sometimes forget part of our authority often can also come in undoing what we did.
Yes.
So it's like, I ask myself that question sometimes. Can I easily go back to where it was before? Like having a kid, harder, to undo that.
Right.
There are some things that's like harder to undo. But I do think sometimes our brains catastrophize these decisions we get
Yes.
to make, we have to make as entrepreneurs in our businesses and professional lives, where we think we forget we can undo it.
Well, I think part of also going back to Webster and the dictionary, like you get to make the decision, but really what matters most is are you available kind of emotionally and intellectually to respond to whatever happens in the end, right? So I always say there's no failures. It's either you're winning or you're learning. So if you can figure out how to respond, right, then you're fine. So it doesn't have to be final in a sense. And I think you're so right that what's the worst thing that can happen? I always say that too. Like,
Well,
what's the
I
worst
think
thing that
you
can
said
happen?
you're learning or you're winning.
Yep.
I think there is a stubborn stuck.
Oh, there's a stubborn stuck.
Then those people do sometimes lose, actually.
Because they're stuck.
Because they're stubborn. Because the
Yeah.
stubbornness does not allow them to move off of the thing that they're...
I would agree.
I think people need to hear what you're saying is like this acute awakeness to whatever's on the other side of your decision.
Yep.
That's the gift. That's the continued gift of agency and choice and authority.
Yes.
When you get stubborn in trying to make the one choice you made right, which it might be on the path to right, but it's directional decision making versus, what's the word I'm looking for? Versus like,
Absolute. In a
yes,
sense.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's right. This like sort of final authoritative decision making is like, this is not really how it works. And I think our minds can clamp up when we think about it that way.
Yes, because it goes back to like the evidence. We're always looking for evidence that this is going to be the right thing. And you have to kind of make some decisions with only 70% of the evidence, right? You said something that made me think about when we're considering how to move forward or if this possibility can come to light, are we giving, like I call it equal airtime to all the possibilities? Like sometimes we go and fixate on the, like, okay, sitting in that car, my husband's like thinking about all the reasons not to do this.
Yeah, it could take 7 years to sell our house. Could take,
Right. Do we want to put ourselves in this position? But my brain was giving airtime to, this might be nice. Like, we're going to have no kids at home. This could be fun. So you have to give equal airtime to both things.
I want to take a quick moment to thank my partners at Share Your Genius. For the past 4 years, they have been an incredible part of my journey behind the microphone. Share Your Genius is a content and podcast production agency that helps leaders and brands bring their message to life. So whether you're trying to find your voice, develop a content strategy, or get your leader behind a microphone, they're going to help you make it simple, strategic, and impactful.
The other thing I was taught that I think is coming forward in what you're saying too is this what versus how. So belief is about this understanding whether or not the what can happen. And going back to this evidence conversation, when you don't yet have evidence that your current path, current strategy, current financing situation, current customer list, current market potential, all of that can lead you to the what, you start to clam up. But it's like, until I believe in the what, my brain does not solve for the exponential how.
Yes, correct. I
So
would
it
say
is such a powerful unlock.
It is. I mean, we were talking about today, someone really does need to hire more people. But in the back of her brain is the business going to come to support the people? Now she knows it's happening, right? But she can't grow or scale without these people. So she's waiting for some evidence, to be solidly locked in, right? We struggle with this stuff, but I said, you're getting in your own way of this growth and scaling. You have to stick with you believe this is the right move in order to make that happen. And I think it keeps you like playing small. So I wrote this book, She Thinks Big, the podcast, She Thinks Big. So sometimes people ask me, well, what's the opposite of that? And I think it's playing small. Sometimes it feels safe. Sometimes it feels like the right thing. And it might be like, so I don't know, but it's not.
Well, it's a double-edged sword in that those are feelings that protect us.
Correct. Yeah. And that there's something called the motivational triad. I don't know if you're familiar with this.
Do tell.
So this is like caveman brain. We're motivated by things. We want things to be easy. We want things to be safe. We want things to be efficient. I always think it's more than a triad. Anyway, I say we want things to be fun. So we're searching to make sure that it's going to be easy, safe, efficient, and fun. Well, hiring someone, not easy, not very fun usually.
No, and
right?
It's not efficient.
No, it's not, right? So it's like
it makes everything harder for a while.
Yeah. So of course you're going to have some resistance to it. Like that's how we're wired. But I always like to say we're not living in the caveman era anymore. We don't need to hide out in the cave because some bear's going to eat us when we leave. So we have the resources and the ability to make anything work.
What do you say to the woman who says, but Andrea, I'm just being realistic?
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
Just being realistic.
Okay.
You're being crazy. I'm being realistic.
Yeah, I love that. Who's reality? Right? Like, and you haven't created the next reality yet. Right? So in the moment, this maybe looks like the right thing to do to not hire, we'll call it, okay? But I also say like the past can just be a teacher. It's not a fortune teller. So the realism comes from maybe past experience or where you are right now, what you're feeling today. But it doesn't dictate what's happening, the new reality, right? So I like to go like the past can be a teacher.
Yeah,
but it's not a fortune teller.
I love that saying.
And that kind of goes back to the belief, right? You have to believe that something different is possible. And it doesn't always mean more either. It can just mean different.
Totally.
Yeah.
So give us an example of what that looks like, because more is where my competitive capitalist brain goes to, is that belief is always about more. So when you say it could look different?
I think that, I like more too. So I'm going to admit.
maybe she's like, can we just redact this question from the interview?
I'm all about more. However, I think if you talk about
move, you guys already lived in a house.
Right,
It's just a different environment.
Just a different environment, right? But also when you're talking about time, for example, like this doesn't mean that it has to take more time, okay? It doesn't mean that it has to take more resources. Now, so that's what I mean. It just, if we do things differently, it might create more of something or less. Like, I don't even know, do we want to go for more or less, right? So I don't think you have to add something in order to have a different output. I think maybe you just have to shift, like I call it like turn the dial a little bit.
That's been a huge, huge hurdle for me. And even as I was in my intro being like, okay, I really want to grow this Life of And project a lot this year. Like I have like a 10x goal. And I cannot, I will not, I'm choosing not to, I choose not to put 10x time towards it.
Right.
And so because my brain says effort equals output, I was so afraid to commit to the goal in any public capacity or even privately to Sam or whatever and be like, I want to go for this because I'm like, dude, like the hours are pretty locked. And so I have to believe that somehow I'm going to work more efficiently. I'm going to find partners. I'm going to learn how to, like, I'm going to learn.
You're also building a structure around it, right? Like you're creating support for yourself to make this happen.
Am I? Yes.
I think you are. I mean, you tell me, right? You're doing things a little differently, like just us sitting here in the studio.
Totally. I was like, I don't have time to buy this thing. I don't have time to do the technology. I don't have time to learn that. Like I have to go right now.
Yeah. So you're creating things to help support that. I always say, like, our most valuable resources are time, money, people, and energy. And sometimes I'll ask, which do you think is most important, or which is most valuable out of time, money, energy, and people? I usually get time or money as the two most.
Do they usually say the thing that is most scarce to them?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I always argue back, and I would say that your energy or your brain power is the most valuable, because with that, you can create, and I could put this in air quotes, more time, more money, more people power, right? And you doesn't always go the other way. So these are the kinds of things, like, we do need systems and processes and better ways to move through our world. But this is this internal work. You have to kind of change the way you're thinking.
For sure. Because if you put a new financial process into an environment that has, I want to say, like scarcity thinking, it doesn't matter. They're never going to grow.
Exactly.
Yes,
that's why I say, like, if we're at a board, we're in a table in a conference room, and you put your plan down, right, and pass it around, and you've got all the different ways this is going to happen. If you don't actually believe it could happen, it's not happening.
So you work exclusively with female business owners, helping them.
There's a few little men.
Well, for the purposes of this podcast and the way I'm explaining your bio, you work exclusively.
I do.
And so what are the, outside of belief, where do you see women kind of hitting their heads on progress, on the impact that they want to make? What else trips them up? What
other people will think. That's a huge one. It comes out in lots of different ways.
Yeah.
But what are other people going to think? Am I going to disappoint someone or myself? That totally gets in the way. Thinking they don't have the resources, time, money, energy, people power that it will take. A lot of times someone might start a conversation with, the most important thing to me is my family. That comes above all else. And I agree, like, my family is most important too. And, right, we can still 10x it. Like, who's to say we can't have both, right? So, and all of those things, again, sound very noble, sound very, like, smart statements, but they're also holding you back.
Well, they're a defensive posture.
They totally are. And I see that especially women who are starting a new endeavor or stayed home with kids for a while and now are, like, doing what that's a real hard one for them, right? Because then they feel like they should be spending their time and money and energy on something else. And they kind of don't believe that they could do both.
Totally. Well, they haven't seen it demonstrated, or they had lived or observed experiences that are informing that. I kind of unloaded on my husband last night. My daughter plays travel volleyball, and she plays at a very elite level. And that takes a lot from us as a family. So last night we were talking about whether or not it's okay for her to leave school to get to practice for this private thing before school's over. And I'm like, absolutely not. There is no way. Like, I just lost my shit on my husband in front of everybody. And I was like, there's absolutely not. And as happens, my husband is a very rational man who's very strategic and had already thought about this 100 times. And he came back and he said, if she would not be doing well in the class that she needs to leave 10 minutes early on once a week, then 100% she should stay. If she's able to hold a good grade and leave 10 minutes early, it accelerates her ability to be able to play in the position she wants to play, and she's 14, 15 is like the big year that they start to get recruited, which is the most insane thing ever. And he was kind of like Little Miss Life of And, like,
Yes.
but what you're saying is this mom who says, I don't want to sacrifice anything that my family has received from me. And so I'm afraid to venture out at all
Yep.
because that would be bad. It's a different environment. But I was freaking out like, she's going to be illiterate was basically where my head was at because she's going to lose 10 minutes of school. And he's like, yeah, if the indicators show your kids aren't doing well because you're taking on this new role, then you should probably undo some of those decisions because your kids are a priority. But don't not make the choice before you know that. Don't not give yourself the chance. Don't not believe that these things can coexist.
Yes. I think also it's like when you talk about you're leading your family, okay?
Yeah.
And leadership, I think, is really more about judgment than anything else. So you're making a judgment call. Like, she's doing okay in this class. This is going to help her propel in other ways.
I mean, I still think it's insane.
It is. But
How am I this person? But then I look, and
you're living in a world where that happens all the time, right?
it's like a silly microcosm, but I think when we take that into our environment, if we've made all these presumptions of failure before we even have any evidence, and that was where my husband gets the credit. He's like, what evidence do you have that being excellent at volleyball makes terrible kids? And I was like, that is irrelevant to this conversation. He's like, it feels pretty relevant to this conversation. But I think I was believing.
Yeah. Well, you kind of stick to the principles.
That
right?
was definitely my argument.
Yes, like on principle, this is not
this
is not how we operate as a family.
That's exactly what I said.
Okay, was I there?
You were there.
Yeah.
So what does that sound like for a woman when she's when she's about ready to take a risk? I'm afraid of what people are going to say.
Yeah,
I'm
like
afraid.
this is. Yeah, I'm afraid to take this risk. What if all of a sudden she starts failing
or
the
creates
class?
financial risk for the family,
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. Like what if, right? And you're only going to the what if that is catastrophizing.
My fear, which goes back to your small thinking, and I think nobody cares about my daughter in volleyball. I don't actually think you do. It's just a real life example of where it crept in. I would consider myself, I teach and thinking.
Yes.
I would consider myself somebody who has, but there's these moments where it feels very close to home, like you're going to lose something sacred. And you look at it and say, am I really though?
And that's not like who you are as a mom. You're not just going to succumb to these sports, right?
Exactly.
So this is, but your confidence in this decision is only going to grow if she goes, honestly. And this works out, whatever that means. And that's a whole other discussion, right? But so because there's no evidence yet, in a sense that the decision itself is the right one, we start to backpedal and make different decisions, okay? And our strategy sort of changes. That's why I say sometimes like belief is part of the strategy even, right? If the strategy is that she might get on this team because she now can play this position because she had this private coaching, okay, then we got to put some belief into this. And it just needs a seat at the table, just like everything else. So
I'm a believer. I mean, okay, it's so nerdy. I didn't mean it to feel so stupid.
We should
I'm
have
a
the
believer
song.
in belief. Yeah, totally. I feel energized actually having had this conversation because there is this intrinsic energy that starts to come with being like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So
do
that's
this.
why I think this work is so important, this kind of work. And, I like to say everybody needs a to believe list. You have your to-do list. I'm sure you have a to-do list, right? And it's got 20 things or more, or 100. But if you really look at it, how many of those things align with something that you believe is possible? And if this happens a lot in business, like we've got all these little things, but is this really moving the needle forward? Are all these things on here? Go back to what you really believe. I call it your to believe list. That's what's going to tell you what you need to do today.
Do you have a to believe list?
I do.
Will you share it with us?
Sure.
Is it super personal?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's like 5 things.
Great. Can we hear it? I would love to.
It kind of goes back to what I believe in too, like possibility, like anything is possible. I believe that any transformation or any change that's going to happen really has to start with me. It's an intimate type experience. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. And I use that word a lot, create. And I also believe that curiosity should be the driver of all decisions.
Love it. I love the to believe list.
Yeah. So if I look at like go to Target, is that aligning with any of these? Why am I doing that? And I'm getting pretty granular, but it is kind of, it helps you create priorities from an order sense. Like we could talk about what I think the word priorities means too, but like it helps you figure out what's next.
Love it. So if someone is listening to this saying, my belief muscle is quite atrophied and I am wanting some of this, where do they start? And then if they want your help, how can they find you?
I think they start with themselves, but they start, like, you have to start listening to some of this and seeing how it kind of, it's almost like you have to infuse it into what you're doing. So I think, and it's practice, it's muscle, it's a muscle. So, I mean, listen to my podcast, get the book, all called She Thinks Big. But I'm always open to a conversation too. I always say that, like, message me, let's talk. Because I think even just having a quick conversation with someone can help jumpstart you.
Yeah, unlock for sure. Yeah. We'll put links to everything in show notes. And this is the first of 2 recordings we're doing together today. So we're talking about some inner work right now between the two of us. Now we're going to
talk about the external work.
Yeah, so jump over to Andrea's
it's like, this is a great, I can't do what I do without you doing what you do.
Vice versa. Yes, awesome. Well, Andrea, thanks for joining me. This was super fun. And to believe list, guys. We need this right. Almost
you need a belief plan too. You need a belief plan.
We'll have that next episode. Awesome. Thank you guys again for joining us on another episode of Life of And just appreciate you joining us. And I hope that you remember the things that we're doing in our life are all fueled by this idea of belief. So thank you, Andrea, for teaching us today. And
thanks for having me.
Learning right along with you guys. So thanks.
Thanks for listening to The Life of And. This is your weekly reminder to keep making bold choices, saying clear yeses, and holding space for what matters most. As always, if you like this episode, I'd love for you to drop a review and share it with your friend. It's the fastest way that we can grow the show. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time.